Hello and welcome to the third episode and first video, and it's actually light in my room because I decided to record it at a more reasonable time this time. This is Risa. Say hi to her. She's how cute is she? Oh my gosh, she's drooling again. Okay, so today's topic falls in absolute disconnect with how I actually feel today because it's sunny, I woke up, I'm well rested, and everything is nice, but I'll have to talk about how your environment and specifically social media can worsen imposter syndrome and social anxiety. Yeah, I know, that's what I prepared, so we're doing it. Before we get into the subject, I want to say that I don't think I've directly ever experienced imposter syndrome before. And you might go, how can you speak about it if you haven't experienced it before? I've noticed it in other people, and I feel like sometimes it's much better to see it how it manifests from outside, because whenever you're experiencing something directly, you're so stuck into your own head that you cannot really see the bigger picture, whereas as an observer you can really notice a lot more details about the whole situation besides just the feeling itself. I've been repeatedly told that I don't come across as scared or intimidated in social situations, even though I feel scared shitless at times. So I would like to talk about it from the perspective of somebody who does experience it a little bit, but not to like an extreme amount. The advice and just the perspective that I've tried to give to other people who are going through it, and I hope that will help. So yeah, let's just start with like what's the whole imposter syndrome. Yeah, if you don't know it, if you've lived under a rock, you've never heard what it is before because it's all over the internet, like what are you doing? Yeah, imposter syndrome is essentially when you feel out of place in a certain social situation, mainly due to feeling inferior to other people. And it all starts from self-categorization, obviously, because you cannot really have imposter syndrome without feeling some sort of complex about yourself. So feeling like everybody else is so much cooler and so much better than you are. And how really is it worsened by social media? Essentially in every single way. So first thing, you are constantly exposed to extremes in the terms of you're exposed to people who are either doing extremely well or extremely bad. So on the one side of the coin, there's those people that are selling certain lifestyle, certain fantasy, dream world kind of life. And then on the other side, there are people that are absolutely miserable and nothing goes right, and it just seems like they're constantly suffering and it's awful. And yeah, they both deserve a platform, but I very much believe that they reinforce black and white thinking. It just rewires your brain to think that it can only be this way or that way. It can never really be in between. And let's be honest, the gray area is the largest. It's not just black and white, it's all these variations of gray in the middle that people are just overlooking, really. That falls into the second point. Popular people will mostly be unrelatable because everything they seem to do online, and that's the reason why they're popular, is because their life seems very artificial and highly fabricated. And guess what? It actually is. Because as much as people like to relate to others, they like putting others on a pedestal as well, and they like having somebody to look up to. Because yeah, we identify with people on our level, but in the back of our heads, nobody really wants to stay the same. They always have this thing of wanting to look up and be inspired and be motivated by somebody that they perceive as better than them, right? And it is for this reason that we like to follow people who are working in our fields, you know? People that are excellent and doing their craft perfectly, and they're absolutely awesome, and we wish that we will be like them one day because that's why we follow them. Then the third point is that the algorithm categorizes you, puts you in a box. So let's just say you like music, you're only gonna see music. You like cats, you're only gonna see cats. You like gaming, you're gonna see only gaming content. So the algorithm essentially further isolates you into a space suitable for people like you. which is good for those people seeking a community that they cannot find in real life. That's great. It might be beneficial, but it's also harmful. The fact that you're only stuck in this bubble all the time, and you are stuck with the stereotypes around your group of people, with the generalizations, with everything that is said falls directly onto you, whereas when you're not part of anything fully, even if a certain community is marginalized or is called cringe or weird and you guys are freaks, you cannot really take that fully onto yourself. If you're not fully enmeshed into that, you don't take it so personally anymore because, oh, this is just one thing about me. But the way social media works, it makes 3 things about you, your entire personality. And that shouldn't be the case. 3 things shouldn't be your entire personality. You should have more to yourself than just whatever the internet throws at you and you like or you don't like. And then 4th and last important thing on how social media worsens social anxiety and imposter syndrome is the illusion that all the eyes of the world are on you. And that's not true. Unless you're like really big celebrity, probably most eyes won't be on you like you think. Like, come on, you only have 300 followers on Instagram. Nobody really cares to the extent that you think they care. So, all those 4 points that I mentioned, I feel like if you're constantly exposing yourself to social media, you start to develop this idea in the back of your head that you are uncool, or unless you did something or experienced something really extraordinary, you're not really worth listening to, and that's not really the case. And I actually have a personal example for that, because when I wanted to start this vlog, right, I told my dad that, yeah, I want to start a YouTube channel because, you know, why not? I want to do some video journaling and all that. And my dad's first response was, oh, but what are you gonna say? Or what do you have to say? And I said, oh, I just want to talk about my life a little bit. I just want to share my opinions and my personal views and all that. And his response was, oh, but what did you do so extraordinary in your life that people would care to listen to you? Have you been at war? And obviously that shocked me a little bit, because do I need to be a war veteran to have something worth saying? Like, it was this whole idea that unless you had some personal trauma, unless you experienced war in Afghanistan or anything extremely traumatic, and let's be honest, lots of people haven't experienced such extremes in their lives ever, it doesn't mean that you cannot still give your opinion on things and have an interesting perspective to share on life. Anyway, let's try to exemplify everything that I've said through some scenarios, right? So I have 2 ideas in mind, but let's start with a simple and straightforward one. Let's think you've been invited to a party, right? You're a bit introverted, you're a bit, I'm not sure, but you decided to go. Okay, yeah, I have nothing else better to do, so I'll go. And then you get to the party and you realize lots of people are dancing. And you're like, holy shit, like, I don't know how to dance. You're one time already uncomfortable because you decided to go and you're already not very sociable to begin with. And then all of that discomfort got amplified by the fact that people are also dancing and they seem really extroverted and they are all good dancers and very outgoing, and you're just out there, you don't like to dance, you are not really that big on socialization, so you just feel awkward and you sit in a corner and just stare at everybody else instead. So the imposter gets paralyzed by performance anxiety because they get so much inside their heads about not being able to dance properly that they just disconnect from the entire situation. They just say, oh, I don't dance, I'm not a good dancer. And again, the whole idea that everybody else is much better than them, when it's really not. They assume that everybody else who went to the party is automatically extroverted. They feel like they're the only introvert, which is obviously not true. Many people are also introverted. And then they also assume that everybody who's dancing must think that they are a good dancer. Or they're being even more judgmental because they notice that some people are out dancing, and let's be honest, some people are not good dancers and some people are gonna judge them. And who's gonna judge them? Those people that judge themselves are gonna judge others as well. So is this the same? It is the same person that has performance anxiety. The performance anxiety gets amplified by just observing those people around them enjoy themselves genuinely and being like, oh, but they're not dancing that well. If I'm gonna start dancing, I'm gonna look like a fool like they do. I feel like that's quite common for people when they judge others so much to automatically expect that others are gonna judge them to the same extent, which is really not true. So what's the solution to all of this?
Just be confident.
No, just kidding. No. I mean, yeah, be confident, but that's not helpful at all. Yeah, let's give a proper example. Let's pick some random two people from the party. Both people want to dance. Neither of them are particularly good dancer, but there's a difference between them. One of them focuses on what they don't have and what they might have to lose. For example, I'm not a good dancer, and if I go ahead and dance, people are gonna see me as silly, I'm gonna look idiotic, and I'm gonna lose face, right? And then the other person, on the other hand, will be like, yeah, I'm not a very good dancer, and I'm aware of that, and I might look a little bit stupid, but I came here with one goal, and that's to have fun. So I'm gonna have fun, regardless whether I'm the most skilled person in the world or not. It's as simple as that. Again, a personal example from my life, right? I signed up to this 90s house music Christmas party with my ex-boyfriend, and we went there together, and it was all just middle-aged people. Like, I'm pretty sure we were the youngest people in the room, and I couldn't recognize a single song the entire night, because how the hell would I know 90s house music? And obviously I felt a bit silly because I thought that, oh, I messed up with this party because I don't recognize any music, so I cannot dance. And then as soon as that popped into my head, I instantly flipped it. And I thought, wait, hold on, I don't know any music. But what, does knowing music stop me from having a good time? Like, I came here to dance. It's a party after all, and who cares if it's all just middle-aged people, if we're the youngest people around. We came here to have a nice time. So I literally just started jumping around and just doing this and that and just, and it was nice. It was fun, and you realize that nobody else really gives a flying crap. Like, other people started waving at me and dancing and smiling, and they were having a nice time, so it was just really good vibes eventually. You just have to let a little bit loose, really. And I feel like there's a common misconception that people have that you will stop having performance anxiety once you get really good at it. And that's really not true because, again, with the example with dancing, I'm a quite decent dancer. Like, people told me I'm a really good dancer. I still get awkward about dancing in public sometimes, and you will always have this fear in the back of your head that you're gonna look silly at some point. But the truth is that even when you're good at something, you don't actually perceive yourself to be as good as you actually are. You come across as good to others, but in your head you might still be like, I'm still not good enough. So it's still this disconnect from how you're perceived and how you actually see yourself from the inside. As much as others might see you as a good dancer, you might still feel mediocre while you're doing it. You might still feel like, oh my god, I look so stupid right now. You can still feel embarrassing and mediocre no matter how skilled you are. So, okay, I wrote this down, so it's the courage of allowing yourself to enjoy an experience despite not being the best person in the room. Make sense? Logical enough? I think so. Tea break! So, for today we have a classic. We have the Twinings Earl Grey. I didn't forget about it, I just moved the time. And the sweet snack. The sweet snack. We have Romanian walnut gingerbread, which is absolutely fantastic. I'll do a giveaway if you guys make me famous, but this is it. And drip. Fun fact actually that I discovered a couple days ago. If you drink lots of green and black tea, you should take a vitamin B12 supplement because apparently it depletes you of it. And from what I read, it's supposed to help you assimilate minerals into your body much easier. So if you don't have enough B12, your magnesium, calcium, and all the other minerals are gonna be messed up in your body because tea just eats them like that. So take B12 if you're a crazy tea drinker like I am. Cheers. Okay, now on to hypothetical scenario number 2, which I told you the 2 scenarios are gonna be pretty different. We started with a simple one, with the dance. This one is gonna be a bit more complex because it's about social class. I'm pretty sure that if you enjoy and have as a hobby any classical art activity, let's say theater, ballet, opera, dance performances / classical music concerts, plus a bunch of pretty unique and borderline niche activities that you like to do, people are gonna say you like rich people activities. So let's say you've been invited to a ballet performance. You've never been to one before, so you feel a little bit intimidated by that. And I find a common pattern that people give this response whenever they're invited to a ballet performance. They just say, "Oh, that's a rich people activity." Which is not what you might expect because it's not a necessarily expensive activity. Not more expensive than going to see a really popular singer would be live. And I'm pretty sure that anybody who can afford going to gigs frequently can afford going to any of those things as well. Ironically enough, it's actually way more expensive to go to a Harry Styles or Taylor Swift concert than it would be to go to see the opera. And yet you wouldn't label a Taylor Swift fan as a rich person. Why? Because it's more casual. When people say that is a rich person activity, what they actually mean, instead of the financial investment, they mean it's formal, it involves a certain etiquette, and it requires certain knowledge in order to be understood properly. And all of those things can be trained just by going to it frequently enough that you just pick up on what works, what doesn't, and what's the general vibe of the event, you know? Yeah, I feel like it's a very outdated view to label theater and ballet as rich people activity. Like, we no longer live in that era where only rich people can afford going to see chamber music live. Everybody can afford it. It's just a matter of taste, isn't it? So if you enjoy that, don't put yourself in a box and be, "Oh, that's not the place for me. I'm not rich enough to like that." Just enjoy whatever you want. Who cares? Use your money however you want. Going further into this whole self-categorization thing when it comes to social class and what is suitable for you and what isn't, I found out that lots of people reject activities they've never tried before under the excuse that it is not their style or is not suitable for somebody like me. And of course, you can split this category of people into 2 types of people. One is people that don't try at all, so they just instantly reject it. They say, "Yeah, it's not for me and I don't want to try it," and they're out. And then another type is people that try too hard, because whenever you have this imposter syndrome about yourself, social class wise, when you go somewhere, it's either you don't try at all and you just avoid it altogether, or you try very, very hard to fit in, that it obviously stands out. Yeah, we're gonna ignore those people that don't try at all. We're gonna focus more and divide those people that try too hard once more into 2 more categories, which is, out of the people that try too hard, there is the people that are doing what they're doing for ego boosting / trying to prove a point. And there's people that try too hard simply because they're out of their waters, they're on uncommon territory, so they just don't really know how to act properly yet. But they have a genuine interest and a willingness to learn, so they're gonna eventually temper down, they're gonna settle in, they're gonna pick up on the vibe, and they're gonna genuinely enjoy what they're doing. Whereas those people that are doing this for ego boosting purposes are only gonna keep intensifying it. They started off strong and they're going on even stronger. They're usually the type of people that always speak at concerts with each other, and they always gossip, and they always have something to say and trying and having a point to prove. Like, nobody cares that you've been before. Just shut up and enjoy the performance, you know? How do I correlate all this with social media usage? Is the fact that besides the outdated conception that is only for rich people to enjoy those things, on social media there seems to be those aesthetic trends going on, like old money, coquette, and what was the other one? Dark academia, that just act as if those things are only associated with social class, and they are further isolating them into rich people activities when they're really not. They're just cultural activities with an added layer to them. That's it. And etiquette is pretty much accessible to anybody. Anybody can do it. You don't have to be dark academia, and you don't have to be old man wearing Ralph Lauren sweaters in order to be able to qualify to go to the opera. You don't need to do that. So, solution, right? Because we're chatting shit about all those situations, but how do we get out of it if we're actually struggling with that? Solution: if you feel like an imposter because of your social class, just fake it till you make it. And that applies to feeling like you don't belong into any group or situation or environment that you weren't naturally born in. So let's say you go to music school or you go to chess class or something, and you're surrounded by people that did music and practice chess their entire lives, and you're just there for the first time. You're obviously gonna feel out of place. So how are you gonna feel more like you belong? Is by just going with the flow, just being chill about it, really. Just admitting, like, yeah, this is who I am, this is how I was born, this is how I was raised, and that's perfectly fine. You don't have to try too hard to mesh in spaces that are not familiar with you. You just have to be polite, be understanding, and have a willingness to learn, and you're gonna blend in everywhere, essentially. And I very much believe that everything can be learned, so just pay attention to the people around you and your environment. And the conclusion that I would make from both of those situations is be courageous, go into new activities with the sole point of just having a good time, not trying to prove a point. And learn something new every single time you're out of your comfort zone. Just go on with an open mind and go on fully knowing that you're not quite there yet, but you're willing to make some steps further. And that's what matters, really, in the end. This video was a bit more structured than the previous ones. I actually wrote everything down and I followed a scheme, because I felt like the previous ones were very much chaotic, and I finally feel a bit more confident speaking to the camera. So I feel the subjects will go more and more specific as we keep going, more and more seemingly unrelated, but I promise I'll try to make it make sense. Don't think I forgot about it. Before I go, song recommendation of the week. I'll put it over there. But how is it called? It's Sus by Universo. I've been trying. Nah, I've not been trying. I've been getting into very, very, very niche music, and I started a playlist with songs under 1,000 listens. And this was the first one out of them. If I was to describe it very briefly, is quite vaporwavy in the sense that it reminds me of barber beats. If you've been around that side of the internet, really chill. It's really nice to play on the background as you're studying, reading, and yeah, let me know what do you think of today's video. Hopefully it was entertaining, and I hope that for the next week I'll manage to do the subject that I actually wanted to do for today, because it's really complex and I got overwhelmed by that. So yeah, take care and have a nice week. See you next Sunday. Bye.